Yes. So, welcome to a new episode of One to One podcast. We are here with Aapo Nikkanen. You are originally from Finland, but now you live in Paris, France. You are a visual artist and also a hypnotherapist and a researcher, and you wander and go through a variety of different strains of art and interests. Um, and as I perceive you, you are a very nice person to to have.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
That's a
we
lovely thing to
spend
say.
we spent 3 weeks in Klanets on the one-to-one residency where you and three different artists work on your pieces. So first, can you tell us a bit more about yourself?
Like you said, I'm an artist and a researcher and a hypnotherapist. And for the past 4 years, I've been using hypnosis as a tool and as a medium to produce work. So I produce live work, so performances in which the audience shares hypnotic experience, and I also use it as a tool to produce photographs. And in both of these, the concept is more or less that the person is inhabiting some kind of speculative reality. And much of the research that goes behind these works, which is not necessarily supposed to be very like underlined, is dealing with how new technologies and the ideologies behind them are shaping not only the world in physical and political and social sense, but also in a psychological sense. So how they are being shaped by us. And for the live works, I approach hypnosis, or let's say maybe broader unconscious, as a space that is political and conflictual, but it also can be a site of emancipation. So maybe there's a part of therapy techniques that come to use also to try to give the public space where they could share this kind of safe inner exploration, but also confront perhaps some of the issues that we are facing as societies at the moment,
Hmm. Very,
and
very,
then hopefully emancipate from them.
yeah. Before we step into the questions that are somehow for all of us who are not acquainted with hypnosis and trance and I would say prejudice that somehow are floating around these words. Before that, I would love
Hmm.
you to present also your work that you were preparing for the festival in Oulu. Can you tell us a bit about the work that you did? Joy machines that, of course, use the hypnosis as a tool and
Yeah, so in joy machines, the concept is that the public or the person um, gets in contact with the machine of some kind. They will all every person will individually create their unique scenario, but they are induced in hypnosis, so in a state of trance, and they will meet or encounter this machine that can produce happiness by a touch of a button. And here, while in this state of hypnotic trance, the experience is very visceral, so it's very bodily sensation for most people. So it's kind of like gives the person the opportunity to feel really the joy produced by the machine. And there's a link to a past memory that's a happy memory. And after that, there is kind of an enigma that deals more generally about our relation to machines of today. So these are references to social media and other kinds of algorithm-based machines that influence us on everyday basis. But during the piece, it's not highlighted at all. It's not shown. This is the point behind it, but there's a little what's called a post-hypnotic suggestion. So a little seed is planted that in the future, perhaps the person will reflect their relationship to happiness in general, and also their relationship to these machines, algorithmic machines that are designed to be very addictive.
I'm not sure, but a lot of people somehow, when you hear hypnosis, there is questions,
Yeah,
there is a lot of actually pictures or scenes from a movies where you can see people
yeah,
on the stage flying, playing keys. And, so can you somehow open that question a bit? So
yeah,
present it
yeah,
a bit what hypnosis is and how is hypnosis used in therapy and also art?
yeah, absolutely. That's a good question. It comes up a lot. So a lot of people know this kind of, they've heard this kind of terms such as hypnosis or hypnotic trance or trance. And usually every time I do these pieces, I also spend a little moment to explaining them. So trance or hypnotic trance is it's an altered state of mind, and it's a trance state. Trance states are naturally occurring states, and hypnosis is not a binary state. It is something you can go lightly to or deeply to. So trance states, for example, if you're in a train and you are riding with the train and you're looking outside from the window and your attention starts to turn inwards and perhaps you notice that the time is moving a bit differently. And there's this moment where you have kind of internal exploration. This is an example, very common example of naturally occurring trance. And then hypnosis is a collection of tools with which we can create these kind of trance states and we can go deeper into them. So that's why it's called hypnotic trance. And like you said, a lot of people have these ideas from movies and popular culture. And don't worry if someone is wondering if they want to be hypnotized. Don't worry, you're not gonna, you know, lose your memory or do anything against your will or any of that. It doesn't really work that in like that in real life. Hypnotic process always needs the consent. So without the consent of the person, no one can be hypnotized against their will. So this is the first thing. And the second thing is that no one will be able to do anything against their moral principles in trance state. It's not a state where disappear, it's just a state of intense inner focus. So it could be described, I describe these sessions sometimes as guided daydreaming sessions. But it's really the person themselves that decides how deep they go, and it's the person also who decides if they to come out of trance. So there's not this kind of control as from movies you might think.
So your piece is you're preparing it now for one-to-one festivals, and as usually somehow the experience of one-to-one piece is that is time and space that is completely personalized for one. It changes somehow with the new audience. What is your experience? How your piece is changing with different with different person.
Yeah, so there's two sides to it. I think one side is that there are like universal techniques that I'm using. So I've developed throughout this year special kind of accumulating induction that works really well for different kinds of people. So there are certain points that I would say that are as embodied experience is quite same. And the world that everyone builds is unique to their own. So there's never gonna be two same experiences. There's never gonna be two same um, kind of paths or journeys, which I think makes it really interesting for me because I'm the person who gets to hear experiences from a lot of people, and I'm always so fascinated to hear how different people experience it, and it brings a lot of joy for me, and also knowing that I mean that's something quite beautiful for me to listen to those stories because they're all great. There's not one that would be better than the other. But then when it comes to people themselves, I would say that and this is also something that's researched quite a bit, that we're all pretty much the same when it comes to going to hypnosis. But then there's a small part of people for whom it's very easy. And with this group, which is maybe 1 out of 20, it's quite interesting because they go very easily, very deep. So they might have quite strong, vivid experiences. And then in the other end, there's also people for whom it's more difficult. And with those people, then maybe once, because I can kind of read it, or I can read it actually quite well. So with those people, then I might focus more on the bodily effects than trying to create really strong visual images. But so far, I haven't had any bad experiences. For me, it's always gone well. And I think with one-to-one, what's so interesting is that I actually can do it with completely tailored for that person. So because there's this kind of dialogue going on, it's kind of hard to not be able to do a good experience for the person. Whereas with the group, I mean, there might be someone for whom it's difficult, and there's not much I can do at that point. I cannot, notice that person specially. But with one-to-one, it's it changes. It becomes a dialogue, and this I find so interesting in this format because I can really, really adapt it to that person in front of me. And then it really becomes experience we share together in quite intimate level.
Do you had any feedback from the so you were in the artist residency in House of Klein with the three other artists, and you somehow all watched each other pieces, and what was the feedback of other people?
I mean, yeah, the feedback has been really good so far. I
Yeah.
haven't had sometimes there's this scene where people walk down the stairs, which is a very classic hypnotic induction, where people go deeper into the unconscious and the inner world. Sometimes there's reactions from people who say that this is strangely a bit scary moment, but when it ends, then it's always good. And I remember I had the same thing, but otherwise, I've just had good feedback. And even those people who were kind of struck by the stairs situation ended up having a great experience. And what's kind of amazing with it is that for me, it's really not a piece where I want to have applause. It's not this kind of thing. It's really something that we share and we go to a place that most people have never experienced. They never even thought that it's possible. So it's also giving this opportunity for people, which is really gratifying for me.
When you mentioned the stairs that are some a part of the whole journey, these are like the stairs that are created by your unconscious, by your imaginary world by yourself. And somehow, when I think about these stairs, I would love to walk these stairs because these are my stairs, and I would love to explore them again. And this could be really an invitation to do it more times.
One thing that happened to me actually, and few other people have told me about it also, that the first time they do a hypnotic experience, and they're really disappointed of the stairs.
Mm.
I was like, oh my God, did I really pick these stairs? I don't like these stairs. I want some nicer stairs. And then after a few times, it just completely changes. And just to quickly comment on the idea of watching it twice,
Mhm.
I've had people who done this like 3 times now, and for them it just gets better.
Mhm.
It's actually the more you do it, the more you learn to go to hypnosis, because most of us are, we only can get so far for the time, and then the second and third time it becomes much easier when people realize that it wasn't like in the movies at all, but something different. So then they don't have this kind of stress, and then the experiences can be quite astounding.
Mhm.
So it's also a great thing to continue practicing. And I'm
Mhm.
happy to hear that it stuck with you, because that's kind of one of my big goals, which is a very ungratifying goal for an artist, is to do something that people would reflect after. But
Mhm.
then, of course, I will usually never hear about it. So I'm glad you had this experience, because these are the kind of works that I like a lot. That something stays with me, and I think it maybe days or weeks or months after.
Mhm.
And it's quite, yeah, that's my goal with these works
Mhm.
also.
It's interesting when you think of the work that actually the roles are a bit turned, that you are the one who experienced more stories than
Yeah.
in the end you are the audience. Can you go to the experience yourself?
Yeah.
Guide the
So a lot
experience.
of people don't know, but it's also the auto hypnosis. I can self-hypnotize. Of course, there's a limit under which it gets more difficult, because I'm actually speaking to myself while I'm doing it.
Mhm.
But yeah, usually I have a certain kind of method for developing these works. So first, this getting ideas and doing some tests, and then I kind of chop it to different parts, and then I start to test them with me myself, and then I start to bring quite early on other people also, because it's like my stairs are different than someone else's stairs, and I can only have a very small fraction of collective unconsciousness. This is a way to develop them, is to do them with other people, and then also trying with myself. But we did it a lot while we were doing sound to this piece with the musicians. So we would go the different parts
Mm.
together with the composer, Rowdy McLeod, in hypnosis. So that was quite strange, but very very exciting.
Yes. So you have to bring your composer to another place in order to create.
Yeah, yeah.
Good. I just have one more question. So you generally created the your work for one to one, but you also worked or showed it to a wider audience.
It's a work that can extend from one person to 25, 30 people. So basically, there's a throughout it, but my voice is unamplified.
Hmm.
So the limit of it is that I can speak so that people can hear. So I can't really have more than 25, 30 people. But I would say that the experience is quite different for the one person, where it's really dialogue with that person, and I can really tailor and adapt it to that person's needs. And the techniques are also a little bit different, because I can give more attention to just one person. So it tends to make the experience deeper. However, with the group, there's another aspect that's super interesting, which is that people help each other to go to trance. So generally, when there's like now I did it for max. I had max 24 people. Yeah, so
Hmm.
it was 20 between 21 and 24 people. Um, and I could tell that once someone starts to get into it, they kind of like bring others to it now, which is a very strange feeling in a room because then I don't know, it's a kind of like an energy in a room that it's a bit hard to describe. And
Hmm.
also I go also to a certain level of trance.
Hmm.
So, for example, I was watching some clips from the performance. I thought first that they were like in a wrong frame rate because they were so slow, and
Hmm.
then I realized it was me that had started going slower. And with the individual person, it's a bit different. There, I don't move at all, but I go quite much deeper in a trance, especially if it's someone who's for whom it's easy. So it can be quite a bit more intense for myself if I
Hmm.
do it for one person. But for a group, because I can't really focus on one person, it just becomes this more of like a general trying to understand what's the energy in the room and adapting to it. But yeah, quite
Hmm.
different experiences. But for me, definitely the one-to-one is the more deeper experience. But it doesn't mean that for someone who's experiencing it, it couldn't be as strong in a group or stronger than in one-to-one.
Hmm. It seems that somehow when I hear that the collective unconscious really comes to life in these situations where there are more people, somehow the this
Yeah,
dynamic, the group dynamic is more vivid or more present.
yeah,
Yeah, present.
yeah. It's definitely present, but it's quite fascinating because it's something I have got a big library of different books dealing with hypnosis now that I've collected throughout the years, and it comes often up that people mention that in group there's this group dynamic, but there's not really I haven't really seen good research on it, but I can also tell it exists. I
Yes.
guess there's like a so psychological research, but you see what I mean. Also, you're an actor, and you know when something starts to happen in the
Yeah.
room. It's quite
Absolutely.
palpable.
Yes. Yes, for sure. Wow. I'm looking forward to meet and to see your work again in Oulu in October on One
Yeah,
Festival. And thank you for this brief but really interesting opening, giving us a sense of your work and mentioning a lot of different topics that somehow would be interested to talk more about the political aspect of it, emancipational terms like speculative reality, and it would be
mm,
interesting to go more deep in these aspects. But we are at the end of our podcast episode. So, Alpo, thank you, and see you in Oulu.
for sure. Thanks for having me, and see you in a few weeks.